Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Tear, where I've been featuring my personal top 3,000 songs of the rock era from 1954 to 1999. Today, I'm up to song number 2850, and that one is I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany. Um, this came out in 1987. It was featured on her self-titled album, Tiffany. I guess her debut album. I think she was only 15 years old when she recorded this album, as well as a song. And I guess first I'll talk about Tiffany. So here's a picture of her. I'm not sure when this was taken, probably a few years later. But she was very popular for a few years. Like I said, she got started very young, but she had several big hits the first few years she was recording. I'll just go through her hits. Her first one was I Think We're Alone Now. That went to number one. Later in '87, she had another number one called Could Have Been. And then in '88, she had another remake. By the way, I think we're alone now. I'll get to this later. This was a song that was first recorded back in the 1960s, and she had another remake in '88. It was actually a Beatles remake. You got to have a lot of guts to remake the Beatles, I think, but she did. She had a hit in 1988 called "I Saw Him Standing There," which was a remake of "I Saw Her Standing There," which was one of the Beatles' first big hits. She actually outcharted the Beatles. I think she's the only person who's ever done this, as far as I know. I don't know how she managed this. I mean, I greatly prefer the Beatles version of "I Saw Her Standing There." I guess it was before it was right before Beatlemania hit the world. I guess the Beatles came out with it. It was the first top 40 hit in the USA. Um, they were just starting to make it big worldwide when that song was released right before I Want to Hold Your Hand, which was their first number one. So that only got to number 14 in the USA. Tiffany's version got to number seven, believe it or not. And then later in '88, she had All This Time that went to number six. Um, then she had a couple sort of not so big hits. She had Radio Romance that was only number 35. And then in '91, she and a bunch of other artists recorded a song called Voices That Care. I'm not even familiar with this song. That came out in 1991 and reached number 11. So that's pretty much all the hits she had. I mean, I guess she was really big when she first came out, and then she kind of fizzled away. But anyway, I want to talk more about the song I Think We're Alone Now. It has a long history. It was written in, I think, 1966 or 67. The guy who wrote it was Richie Cordell. He was a famous record producer in the 60s, I guess. And the first recording was by this group here, Tommy James and the Shondells. They did a really excellent version of this song. I think Tiffany's pales by comparison. And that Tommy James's and the Shondells version is coming up much later on my list. It's a rock classic from the late '60s. And who else had a hit with it? '78. This woman here called Lena Lovitch had a hit. It wasn't a hit in the USA, or at least not a big hit, but it did reach number three in the UK. And the B side of this song, I'm not familiar with her version, but the B side is a song I have heard. It's called Lucky Number. It's kind of a weird song. I remember when that song came out. My lucky number's one. Boop, 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 boop. It's a weird song. And I imagine he did a pretty weird version of I Think We're Alone Now. Um, but anyway, that was Lena Lovitch, 78, 87. I mentioned Tiffany already. And then in 2006, there was a group called Girls Around. I'm not even familiar with this group. I mean, my knowledge of popular music kind of stops, after the '90s. I haven't heard this, but this one did go to number four in the UK, at least on the Christmas singles charts. I don't even know how they do charts these days anymore. And there was actually another version by Billy Joe Armstrong, just came out a few years ago, 2020. So this song has a long history, which I guess shouldn't be too surprising because, the theme is kind of universal. I mean, it's about I guess when kids come of age, when they become teenagers and they start getting interested in the opposite sex and they start fooling around and, they want to be alone now. So it's kind of an exclamation of, finally being alone and getting to fool around with each other. So anyway, that's my profile on I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. You guys rock, and I'll see you next. Bye.